Darkest Dungeon is a beautiful 2D dungeon crawler that went from a Kickstarter entry to one of the biggest games this year. You're probably expecting me to say something different and call this early access build overhyped and overrated. Sorry? Darkest Dungeon is as good as everyone says it is, creating a new spin on player decision choices while being an incredibly entertaining but also very challenging game. You control a party of 4 class characters at a time. Each of these characters can be renamed and later customized to your playstyle. The game itself isn't entirely story-driven, though you are given the lore of this dungeon crawler through a couple of introductions that are bundled with epic voice acting. What makes the narrative really compelling are your party members that you raise on various quests you partake. You'll start to get attached to the class characters you progress with that you'll feel really sad if you were to lose them in battle. Death is permanent to each of your party members that you contain in traversing the dungeon, and if it happens, and it can happen by the intense difficulty of your encounters, you need to adapt and recruit new ones during the hub world. You spend most of your time exploring randomly generated dungeons that contain random events, treasures, and enemy encounters throughout the area. Controlling the game is child's play. Mastering the game, however, isn't, and this would fall in the game's player decision choices in the form of its gameplay mechanics. Like a tabletop dungeon crawler, every choice you make has an unspecified outcome. You may open one chest to find gold, but the next one might curse you instead. You may find a trap that your Highlander class character can disable, but sometimes that doesn't happen. While you can upgrade your character to increase the chances to play in your favor, the reality is you aren't really going to know whether the game will play in your favor or not. The game manages to balance the unpredictable nature that comes to be expected in dungeon crawlers and offers a fair but very serious challenge. This is also true in Darkest Dungeon's turn-based combat, where turns will switch off based on speed. If you played a turn-based RPG before, most of the combat mechanics in Darkest Dungeon will feel right at home to you. Each character class has their strengths and weaknesses that you'll have to overcome while taking on notorious creatures. For example, a Highlander Plague Doctor class are more effective in the back or near back of the line, where they can draw out their most devastating abilities. There are 10 different playstyles to master, but you must never forget that the unpredictable nature will still apply to fighting monsters. These battles are extremely intense, and it's also lightened by the game's stress system. Each of your characters will have a stress meter that builds up whenever they are taking damage, receiving a negative effect, witnessing the death of one of their party members, or traversing a dungeon in pitch darkness. If the stress meter reaches full capacity, your character will receive a stress trait and will be harder to control in combat situations. You can lower stress on your character from having the upper hand in battle, cooling off in a campfire, or having them relax from one mission in a select stress relief practice from the hub world. You have a decent variety of missions to tackle in the game, and they all reward you with gold and trinkets that you can use to spend on various abilities, statistics, and blacksmith and rare items. For a game that's still ways away from release, there's so much to it. This game is so jam-packed full of awesome, I could go on for hours. But instead, check out their early access page on Steam and try it out for yourself.